Hi, in this screencast I'll be explaining some of the things that you should think about when you're dealing with variables and assignment. So one of the things that you should do is try to keep a mental model or a picture or an idea of what's going on inside the computer when you create variables and assign them to various values. So you can think about it this way. There's memory in the computer. It's like a bunch of boxes, and each one has an address, and each box can hold an individual value. And so as your program executes, for example, when you say total is equal to 10, total has a name and it has a value. And what happens is, in memory, space is allocated for that value 10. And anytime we refer to total, we'll get that value from memory. Now total has a value 10 until we reassign it to a different value. So for example here, using the assignment operator, I am giving total the value 55 now. The result is stored inside the variable. So instead of being 10, it's now 55. Don't think of total as holding more than one value. Primitive variables, like integers in this case, can only hold one value at a time. Later we'll look at some variables that can hold collections of values. Each variable, along with having a name and a value, also has a type, and we can determine the type of a variable using the type function in Python. So we can say type total, and in this case it'll tell us that our variable is an integer, and the variable type is implicit based on the assignment. So if we give it a whole number value, a numeric value, then it's an integer. However, if we turn around and reassign it to a floating point value like 55.5 and then call the type function, we'll learn that the variable now has the type float. Now a little bit more about assignment statements. Here are just some examples of various assignments. So I can take a variable, out in memory there's a variable named x, it has the value 4. This next statement says y is equal to 2.5 times 2. So I can have just a number on the right hand side of the assignment statement. We want to think about assignment as happening from right to left. The value gets put into the variable on the left. Or it can have a calculation like we have in this next statement, 2.5 times 2, in which case it does the calculation, evaluates the expression, and puts the value in the variable. So in this next line we see that z is being assigned to x plus y. So what happens is the current value of x and the current value of y, which is 4 and 5.0, are added together. The result is 9.0, and the answer is stored in z. We can call functions on the right hand side of our assignment statements. So this next one is calling the square root function, which is built into Python. So if we try to find the square root of z, it's passing the value 9 to the square root function and returning the answer, and it's replacing the current value in y. So now y is equal to 3.0. It's perfectly fine to have a variable name on both the right and left hand side of the assignment statement. And when we do that, for example, in the x equals x plus 1, the current value of x, which is 4, is used in the expression, so 4 plus 1, or the answer 5, is then stored in x. So it doesn't matter if the variable is used on the right or the left. The value, when it's used on the right, the current value is retrieved from memory, and whatever the answer is put back into the variable. The next one is just assigning one variable to another, also perfectly legal, and that's replacing y with the value 9. And then the next statement, though, once we've replaced it, that previous value is gone. So now when we say z is equal to y, it's just assigning it to 9 again. So the old value of y is no longer available. So just to summarize, visualize the variables in memory as you assign them. So think about them being allocated space and being given a value. Keep in mind that primitive variables can only hold one value at a time. Also keep in mind that assignment is from right to left, so the 8 is put into the x. So even if we have a variable on the right hand side, the value of that variable gets put into the variable on the left. The type is implied by the assignment. Variables can be assigned to values, other variables, or expressions, and the same variable can be on the right and left hand side of the assignment statements. So those are just some things to think about when you're working with variables and assignment. Thanks. See you next time.